Good morning, listeners. Oh, would you look at that? We got a 500,000 listeners tuned in already. Today, we will be getting a history lesson dating back to 1776. The Revolutionary War made America as we know it today, but let's look at a specific battle, the crossing of the Delaware River and the Battle of Trenton, Visual 1. It all started on December 25th, 1776. I know what you're probably thinking right about now. Like, why on Christmas? Like, what the heck? Like, couldn't they pick any other day? They really have to interfere with the Christmas spirit? Well, yeah, actually, they had to. George Washington and his army was backed up in a figurative corner. They had nowhere to retreat to, but they had put the Delaware River between them and the British. The Continental Army's enlistment papers would expire on January 1st, meaning that many of them would just leave and go back to their homes because they weren't required to fight anymore. Knowing this, George Washington knew he had to do something, and fast. Late at night, Washington and his troops planned to cross the Delaware River, march to Trenton, New Jersey, where some British Hessian troops were located. There was about 1,400 British troops there, while Washington had 5,400 troops scheduled to cross. Washington planned to cross Christmas night and attack the next morning because the Hessians would be so tired from their celebration of Christmas. Visual 2. Hey, at least the British knew how to party. Anyways, so Washington and his men set out at night and crossed the river with many ships. The voyage across the 300-yard wide part of the river they were crossing was very difficult. It is the middle of winter and it's freezing, and the soldiers also had to deal with strong winds, freezing rain, and snow. It took many hours to cross with a huge army and all of the artillery, but alas, look at me using that vocabulary word, they arrived. Washington had 2,400 men that crossed with him at his part of the river, while another 3,000 men were supposed to meet with him. The other 3,000 men did not show up on time, so Washington marched his 2,400 men and his 18 cannons the 4 hours it took to reach Trenton. What's crazy to think about is that the spies and deserters from the Continental Army had informed the Hessian colonel that an attack was likely to happen, but the colonel didn't take the reports seriously as he thought they were just false alarms, and he didn't take an attack from the Continental Army seriously because he felt his troops would destroy the Continental Army in any battle. As Washington and his men looked down at the town of Trenton, there is no movement, and all Hessians are in their house sleeping. All the Hessians partied a little too hard, if you know what I mean, and were going to sleep the morning away, but the Continental Army had different plans. As history would tell, the Continental Army would go into the houses, wake the Hessians, and either capture or kill them. After just around an hour of fighting, the Continental Army proved victorious as the Hessians would surrender. The Continental Army took many supplies, food, ammo, and more that would help their army stay alive. They also captured 1,000 British soldiers, while only 4 American troops lost their lives. Only 4. The big question we have to ask is, how did this victory affect the rest of the war? This was the most successful battle to date for the Continental Army. They were losing the war and were most likely going to lose over half their army due to enlistment papers being out. But this victory at Trenton greatly increased morale with all of the American troops, and word of this American victory quickly spread. And the other colonists soon learned that the colonies had a true chance at winning this war. The first major victory for the Americans would not be their last, as they would go on to do major things in the years to come, such as winning a key battle in Princeton and signing an alliance with France. Visual 3. All right, that just about wraps up this podcast for today. Just remember, the Delaware River crossing was a very important victory for the American Army and one that would shape the war to what it became. Tune in to my podcast next week where I discuss why Trae Young will win Rookie of the Year this season in the NBA. See you later, you crazy people. Peace.